Fridays are awesome. You made it. This is our last edition of CNN Student News for the 2013-2014 school year. I'm Carl Azus. Thank you for watching this D-Day. It's the 70th anniversary of the largest seaborne invasion in world history. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces landed in Normandy, France. The foothold they gained marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. American, British, and Canadian troops began to squeeze the Nazis from the west, with the Soviets pushing in from the east. Less than a year later, Germany surrendered. World War II in Europe was over. Another story making headlines today. General Motors has fired 15 employees and released an internal investigation. The problem? 2.6 million GM vehicles had an ignition switch flaw. It could shut off the car and disable airbags, power steering, and anti-lock brakes while driving. GM failed to address the issue for 11 years. The investigation blamed incompetence and neglect throughout the company. Part of its penalty is a $35 million fine.
Time for the shout-out. Janet Yellen was confirmed as the first woman to chair what U.S. government body? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it the Federal Communications Commission, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Federal Trade Commission, or Federal Reserve? You've got 3 seconds. Go! On February 3, 2014, Janet Yellen became the first woman to lead the Fed, the Federal Reserve. That's your answer, and that's your shout-out.
And that's one of the questions and answers on our end-of-year news quiz. Teachers, if you loved our weekly news quizzes at cnnstudentnews.com, our year-ender is that much more awesome. It's available right now, totally free at cnnstudentnews.com. Just click under Teaching Tools. This year, we reported on a terrorist group called Boko Haram. Some of its members recently raided villages in northeast Nigeria and killed hundreds of people. The Islamic militants want to overthrow Nigeria's government and form an Islamic state. Its kidnapping of more than 200 schoolgirls was one of the major stories we covered this year. Here's a look back at some others. Shut down. At 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday, the possibility became a reality, and the sides in this U.S. government face-off were blaming each other.
One faction of one party in one house of Congress, in one branch of government, shut down major parts of the government, all because they didn't like one law.
The president refused to compromise. Senator Reid he's already said he's not going to go to conference. He's not going to go to the constitutional event where we're supposed to come together and compromise.
It's safe to say the rollout of Obamacare and healthcare.gov was less than perfect.
Now, I'll be the first to tell you that the website launch was rockier than we would have liked.
Experts say Typhoon Haiyan might be one of the strongest ever, left a path of destruction as it moved across the Philippine Islands. On this map, you'll see Tacloban. It was one of the spots that was hit the hardest. No electricity, no food, no water, houses and buildings demolished. Tacloban's mayor said everyone he talked to had lost someone. Meteorologists are saying at least another month of cold, snow, and ice will follow. Interesting news, some cities are approaching records. For Chicago, this is the 5th snowiest winter ever recorded, with almost 67 inches of snow so far. For Philadelphia, the 3rd snowiest, over 58 inches of snow there. And for Indianapolis, this winter is the snowiest ever, almost 52 inches of snow, and we're only in February. Political activist, political prisoner, political leader. Nelson Mandela, a towering figure in South Africa and in global politics, has died. He spent a good part of his life fighting for equality. For decades, Mandela's home nation of South Africa practiced apartheid. Mandela's efforts led to the end of apartheid and earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. Ceremonies from Sochi, Russia, as the 22nd Olympic Winter Games officially wrapped up last night. Spectacular fireworks and large-scale choreography ringed the occasion. As far as the final Olympic medal count goes, Russia got the most gold medals and the most medals overall, the first time a host country has done that since 1952. It was a tumultuous weekend in Ukraine. We've told you about protests in the capital, Kiev, that led to the ouster of Ukraine's president last month. Most of those protesters want their country to have closer ties with Europe. But many Ukrainians, like their ousted president, want closer ties with Russia. And one region where support for Russia is strong is Crimea. Malaysia's government made a tragic announcement yesterday. All lives are lost. It ended many people's hopes that there could have been any survivors aboard Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, which vanished more than 2 weeks ago. Grieving families expressed everything from anguish to doubt to anger. One woman left a news briefing asking, "Where's the proof?" Malaysia says information from a British satellite company and accident investigators indicates the plane crashed somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean. With the school year wrapping up, let's see who's watching on the CNN Student News Roll Call. Pyramid Lake High School is in Nevada. It's the home of the Lakers. Hello to everyone watching in Nixon. Elam Christian School is next. The Eagles are on today's roll. Great to see you in Palos Heights, Illinois. And in Bohemia, New York, we're happy to see the Thunderbirds today. They're online at Connecticut High School. We got tens of thousands of roll call requests this year, and we were only able to mention a few hundred on the show. So thanks to all of you for your patience. We'll look forward to announcing more schools this fall. And while we're on the subject of what's coming up on CNN Student News, when we return in August, millions around the world will have had their eyes on Brazil. It's the site of the 2014 FIFA World Cup, the planet's most viewed sporting event. It runs from June 12th through July 13th, and we'll be recapping what happens there when we return. Jumping back to the United States, there's an election this fall. Every seat in the U.S. House of Representatives and about a third of the U.S. Senate will be up for a vote as politicians compete for positions and Americans go to the polls. It'll tie into government, history, civics, social studies, and you can count on CNN Student News for your midterm election coverage. You know we're not going to leave you without a mention of news from the lighter side. And without a doubt, my favorite Before We Go segment of the year featured a cat named Waffles. One day over the winter, careful there Waffles, he wanted to make the leap from an icy car roof to the garage roof. Waffles is slipping, y'all! Aside from his bruised vanity and the kind of YouTube fame even a cat wouldn't want, after his slip-up, Waffles was feline just fine. When that video came out, we called it a cataclysmic catastrophe, but there's no denying he is one cool cat. That's almost all we have for Meow. I'm Carl Azus. It's been a pleasure, a privilege, and a blessing hosting this show for the best audience we know. We'll leave you with a reflection on world news from last August through now.